Hi, I'm Mia Coots, and I'm a senior at Millis High School. And for my senior project, I'm creating resources for new soccer referees. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss some tips and pieces of advice that I have from my experience for transitioning from an assistant referee to a center referee. I just want to start off by saying that I've been a soccer referee for 6 years, but no way does that make me an expert. So, all this advice that I'm about to share with you is just from my experience, and I'm also going to share some advice some of my colleagues have for transitioning from AR to center referee. My first piece of advice would just be to be confident. I know that's a lot easier said than done, and you've probably heard that a lot before, but being confident on the field as a center referee is a huge part of your job. If you're able to be self-confident and assertive with your calls, then everyone else, the players, the coaches, and the parents, are going to respect your calls, and the game is going to go a lot smoother. I know it can be really hard to be confident as a center referee because it feels like you have a lot of responsibility and that you're the one making all the calls all the time. It's really important to remember that you were assigned that game for a reason because your assigner knew that you could ref that game. You've taken the proper courses that have led you to be at this game and you know what you're doing. You just have to realize that you can do it. My next piece of advice has to do with blowing your whistle on the field for any reason. Obviously, as a center referee, you're the one with the whistle, you're the one making most of the calls, whether it's out of bounds or foul, for any reason. And that can be a lot of pressure. So, the piece of advice I have in regards to that is whenever you're about to blow your whistle, for whatever reason, just take 3 seconds and think about it. Go through your mind, is this really the right call? Is this a call I need to make? And if after those 3 seconds, you still think you need to make that call and blow your whistle and be assertive and confident. If after those 3 seconds, you're not 100% sure, then move on to the next play and don't blow your whistle. This has really helped me because it's helped me stay calm and make sure I'm not blowing my whistle too quickly and making really rushed decisions. My next piece of advice has to do with positioning. As an AR, you're only running back and forth on your sideline, so becoming a center referee can be really overwhelming because you have a lot more responsibility when it comes to positioning because there's a lot more ground to cover. So my piece of advice would be that when you're starting off, make sure you're running in a diagonal motion across the field from corner to corner, always opposite to your AR. This way, you're always facing your AR instead of having your back to your AR, so if they make a call, you're able to see it and blow your whistle quickly, and you have easier communication between you and your AR. For me, finding advice to give about positioning is really hard because positioning yourself as a center referee is very much adaptive and something that you have to develop over time with experience. I will say that it gets a lot easier over time, and as you do more games, you get in a rhythm and a groove, and you find out what works for you. And every game is different, so situations happen where you have to be closer to the ball in certain areas that you normally wouldn't, and it's important just to adapt to the game's changes and the situations and interactions that are having in each game. In terms of positioning, I would also say to try and be in the drop zone as much as possible whenever there's kicks or punts. This way you'll save yourself from lots of running and you'll be right in the play to see if you need to call any handballs or fouls. In addition, whenever there's a moment of the game where there's high pressure going on or an intense situation, try and be as close to the play as possible. It's really important that you're there and you're able to make any calls necessary because even if you make a controversial call, you're able to justify yourself by saying that you're right there near the play. As a center referee, it's also important just to keep moving, even if it's just a light jog. You need to keep moving so that whenever an intense or high pressure situation happens, you're able to move there quickly and be able to make the calls you need to make. As a center referee, don't be afraid to lean on your assistant referees. They're there to help you and help make the game go smoothly. So make sure that you have a good line of communication with them going throughout the game, whether you establish that in the pregame or it's something easy like a simple signal that you have between them so you make sure you're both on the same page. The last thing I'll say about positioning is that as a center referee, you are predicting all the time. You're trying to predict where the next play is going to be, where the ball is going to go, so you can be there and make the right calls. And that's something that you just have to get used to and that you're going to gain through experience. So the more games you do, the easier it becomes to be able to predict what's going to happen next on the field so you know where to be to make the proper calls. My final advice would be that as a center referee, I think it's super important that you create an approachable personality so that there is a comfortable relationship between you, the coaches, and the players. This way, if the players and the coaches feel comfortable talking with you, they'll trust you, and that will lead to more respect. As a center referee, you have most of the responsibility. You're the one with the whistle, you're the one making most of the calls, and you're the one that players and coaches are going to talk to whenever there's a problem. That's why I think it's super important that right off the bat, you create a comfortable and open relationship between both players and coaches, where there's mutual respect on both sides. This way, as the game goes on, both players and coaches will respect your calls, and it will make the game go way smoother with way less stress. Now my colleague Anthony Coots, who's been a referee for 4 years, is going to share his advice on the transition between assistant referee to center referee.
My advice for transitioning to the center referee from AR is positioning's a lot different. It's going to be a lot harder than when you're in AR, so just make sure you always have a good angle on the play. Like if you ever find yourself leaning, then you should probably move a little bit and make sure you're close enough where you can see everything well.
Now one of my other colleagues, Doug Coots, who has been refereeing for over 20 years, is going to share his advice on transitioning from AR to center referee.
So as referees transition into being the referee from being on the sideline, we want to make sure they can be heard. Make sure their voice can be heard. If you're giving a direction, give it confidently and loudly. Point in direction. Red ball, blue ball, so that everyone knows. And make sure you have a good whistle. If you're going to use the whistle, make sure it can be heard so everyone knows that you're stopping play for something. I recommend a Fox 40 keyless whistle that works in all weather, and you want to make sure if you want the play to stop, get a good sound on that whistle so everyone can hear it and everyone knows that you're about to point in a certain direction for something. But be heard both by voice and by whistle.
Last thing I want to say is that I know how nerve-wracking it can be to transition from an assistant referee to a center referee. I remember never wanting to become a center referee because that was way too much responsibility and way too much pressure, and that's why I always just wanted to be an AR all the time. But refereeing and becoming a better referee is all about breaking out of your comfort zone and trying something new, trying a new game level, a new age level, and a new position. And that for you might be becoming a center referee. So I know how stressful that can be, but trust me, you got it. It's all about just doing that first game as a center referee. Once you have that first game done, everything will be easier after that. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that these tips and pieces of advice were in some way helpful to you as you transition from assistant referee to center referee. I know that can be a really stressful transition, so if you have any more questions, I'm going to leave my contact information in the comments and you can reach me whenever you want. Thanks for watching and good luck.